Hello, Year 8, and we're back on with Macbeth. You'll have finished watching the Sir Ian McKellen, Judi Dench version now. Today we're going to look at the animated tales, which is a very short version, which will give you a strong idea of the plot. And then we're going to do a thing called a whoosh reading, which obviously we would normally do in class, but I'll explain how it works in just a minute. So what you're going to need today is you're going to need a pen, your exercise book, and your undoubted growing enthusiasm for Macbeth. Your title is Animated Tales and a Whoosh Reading, so put that into your books, underline it, and then we move on. You'll do now is to write a list of all the character names you can remember from the play. So it's not a test, don't get sweaty about it, just see who you can remember, without looking into the copy of Macbeth that you probably haven't got yet, actually, but they're being distributed next week. But if you've got one, then don't look in it. And here are some. I won't read them all out. Oh, maybe I will, actually. First witch, second witch, third witch, Sergeant, Duncan, Macbeth, Banquo, Angus, Ross, Lady Macbeth, Donalbain, Malcolm, the Guards, Fleance, Macduff, the first apparition, the second apparition, and the third apparition. Anyone who got all of those, fantastically well done. These are all going to appear in our whoosh reading of the play. So here's what a whoosh reading is. It's a speed reading of the play. It means you get to know the plot quickly, meeting key characters and sometimes hearing key lines too. The word whoosh is used to empty the stage of players. If we were doing this in a classroom, it just gets too busy and crowded after a while. So what happens is if you're in a classroom, people come on, well, we would have cleared the desks and people would have come into the middle to do their bit, and then you go whoosh and they sit back down again, and then the next bunch of characters come up. But obviously we can't do that, more's a pity, so we're going to do it like this. This video contains a whoosh reading of the play. You can read along with the version of this, also attached to class charts if you prefer. But before this video moves on to the whoosh reading, please watch the Shakespeare Animated Tales version of the play. Just click that link and it'll play it for you. This is another speedy version. By the end of today, you should have experienced the play 3 times through the original text formed by the Royal Shakespeare Company, through the Animated Tales summary, and through a whoosh reading. Then you'll be ready to have a go at a brief Who's Who document, which comes at the end of the lesson. Right, here we are. I'm going to read through it for you. Some witches appear on the heath, discussing a battle and where they shall meet again. When shall we 3 meet again, in thunder, lightning, or in rain? When the hurly-burly's done, when the battle's lost and won. That will be ere the set of sun, where the place, upon the heath, there to meet with Macbeth. They then disappear very spookily. The play then moves to a battleground. The King of Scotland, Duncan, is told that his generals Macbeth and Banquo have defeated 2 armies, one from Ireland and one from Norway. The king is also told that the Thane of Cawdor acted as a traitor, and he orders his death. Thane is simply a word for lord, so like Lord of Cawdor, but Thane of Cawdor is a Scottish thing. And here's the sergeant telling King Duncan how Macbeth performed in the battle. For brave Macbeth, well he deserves that name, disdaining fortune, with his brandished steel, which smoked with bloody execution, like Valour's minion carved out his pashes till he faced the slave, which ne'er shook hands, nor bade farewell to him, till he unseamed him from the nave to the chaps, and fixed his head upon our battlements. Your nave is kind of where your belly button is, and your chaps is up to your neck. So what he's done is he's stuck his sword in this chap and ripped it upwards so that he's unseamed him. He's kind of opened the whole front of him up. That's how ferocious a soldier Macbeth is. So on return from battle, Macbeth and Banquo meet the witches. The witches make a prophecy that Macbeth will be made Thane of Cawdor and King of Scotland, and that Banquo's descendants will become king. Macbeth and Banquo are suspicious of the prediction until Angus and Ross arrive to tell Macbeth he is now Thane of Cawdor. Macbeth begins to wonder if he will become king. Here's the witches talking to Macbeth and Banquo. First witch, all hail Macbeth, hail to thee, Thane of Glamis. That's what he was before. And then second witch, all hail Macbeth, hail to thee, Thane of Cawdor. So he's also that now. And then third witch, all hail Macbeth, thou shalt be king hereafter. So he's saying he's going to be king a little bit down the line. And then the first witch to Banquo, lesser than Macbeth and greater. Second witch to Banquo, not so happy yet much happier. Third witch to Banquo, thou shalt get kings, though thou be none. So all hail Macbeth and Banquo. So Macbeth goes to meet King Duncan, and they arrange to go and dine at Inverness at Macbeth's castle. Macbeth writes to his wife, Lady Macbeth, to tell her of events. Lady Macbeth is certain her husband should be king, and so encourages him to kill Duncan. They plan to pin the murder on Duncan's 2 guards. Macbeth is unsure, but Lady Macbeth is certain it should be done. So she doesn't think, as soon as she gets this letter from Macbeth saying that he's got this Thane of Cawdor and that the witches say he should be king, she's on it, right? She is certain he should be king. He's wobbling a bit, and so she this is how she talks to him, and to kind of get him revved up to become king. Glamis thou art and Cawdor, and shalt be what thou art promised. Yet do I fear thy nature. It is too full of the milk of human kindness to catch the nearest way. Thou wouldst be great, art not without ambition, but without the illness should attend it. So she's saying, you're too nice, really. She more than makes up for that, though. Okay, so Lady Macbeth has convinced Macbeth to kill Duncan, who's staying at their castle. That night, on his way to kill Duncan, Macbeth has lots of visions, including that of a bloody dagger. He has grave doubts about killing the king, but eventually Macbeth kills Duncan. But just before he kills him is one of the most famous soliloquies in Shakespeare, and it's not all here, but we will look at it in detail when we do the analysis. Macbeth: is this a dagger which I see before me, the handle toward my hand? Come, let me clutch thee. I have thee not, and yet I see thee still. Art thou not, fatal vision, sensible to feeling as to sight? Or art thou but a dagger of the mind, a false creation, proceeding from the heat-oppressed brain? I see thee yet, in form as palpable as this which now I draw. Thou martelest me the way I was going, and such an instrument I was to use. So that's the start of the soliloquy that he says before he goes and kills Duncan. After the murder, the king is dead. Macbeth meets with Lady Macbeth, and he's in a real panic. He worries about the blood that is staining his hands and refuses to go back into the chamber to plant the daggers. Lady Macbeth does this instead. When she comes out of the chamber, she notes that they both now have blood-stained hands and insists they go and wash them. Macbeth: I'll go no more. I am afraid to think what I have done. Look on it again I dare not. Lady Macbeth: infirm of purpose, give me the daggers. The sleeping and the dead are but as pictures. 'Tis the eye of childhood that fears a painted devil. Macbeth: whence is that knocking? How is it with me, when every noise appalls me? What hands are here? Ha! They pluck out mine eyes. Will all great Neptune's ocean wash his blood clean from my hand? My hands are of your colour, but I shame to wear a heart so white. So she's not pleased with him, but nevertheless he's gone through and he's killed the king. Soon the body of Duncan is found by the people in the castle, including Ross, Banquo, and the king's sons, Donalbain and Malcolm. The guards, who are covered with blood, are blamed, and Macbeth kills them. However, Donalbain and Malcolm are concerned that whoever killed their father will try and kill them, so they flee. Donalbain goes to Ireland, and Malcolm goes to England. This is a little conversation that Duncan's sons had. Malcolm: what will you do? Let's not consort with them. To show an unfelt sorrow is an office which the false man does easy. I'll go to England. Donalbain: to Ireland I. Our separated fortune shall keep us both the safer. Where we are, there's daggers in men's smiles. The near in blood, the nearer bloody. So they don't believe it was the guards. So Macbeth is made King of Scotland. However, he's worried that Banquo will be suspicious of him, and also is concerned about the prophecy which states that Banquo's descendants will be king. So, to be thus is nothing, but to be safely thus, our fears in Banquo stick deep, and in his royalty of nature reigns that which would be feared. 'Tis much he dares, and, to that dauntless temper of his mind, he hath a wisdom that doth guide his valour to act in safety. There is none but he whose being I do fear. So he orders the death of Banquo and his son Fleance, and hires 2 murderers. The murderers kill Banquo, but Fleance escapes. Later that night, Macbeth is holding a banquet for other nobles, including Ross and Angus. The murderers approach him during the banquet and inform him Banquo is dead but Fleance lives. Macbeth becomes fearful that his power is not secure, and during the banquet he is haunted by the ghost of Banquo. He begins to rant and rave as the ghost of Banquo sits in his chair. Lady Macbeth tries to cover for him, saying he just needs a rest. However, it is clear that things are starting to go wrong, and the nobles become very worried about the future of Scotland. So this is when Macbeth's talking to the ghost of Banquo that obviously nobody else can see. Macbeth. Prithee, see there, behold, look, lo! How say you? Why, what care I? If thou canst nod, speak too. If charnel houses and our graves must send those that we bury back, our monument shall be the moors of kites. Avaunt and quit my sight, let the earth hide thee. Thy bones are marrowless, thy blood is cold. Thou hast no speculation in those eyes which thou dost glare with. Clearly Macbeth is losing the plot here, or probably lost it. So Macbeth is getting worried about his hold on power. So he goes back to see the witches. He finds them mixing a spell. He asks them for further information. Through magic, the witches make more demons appear who make further prophecies. Macbeth is told he must beware of Macduff, a Scottish nobleman. He is also told he will not be harmed by a man born of a woman, and that he will not be defeated until Birnam Wood comes to Dunsinane Castle, where he now lives as king. So these are the apparitions that the witches have conjured up. First apparition, Macbeth, 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 beware Macduff, beware the Thane of Fife, dismiss me, enough. Second apparition, be bloody, bold and resolute, laugh to scorn the power of man, for none of woman born shall harm Macbeth. And the third apparition, be lion-mettled, proud, and take no care who chafes, who frets, or where conspirers are. Macbeth shall never vanquished be until great Birnam Wood to high Dunsinane Hill shall come against him. Macbeth comes away from that meeting with the witches and the apparitions feeling a lot more secure, as forests cannot move and all men are born from women. When he hears Macduff has gone to England, he orders that Macduff's castle is seized and his wife and children are killed. Macduff is told of the news and is devastated. He and Malcolm arrange to raise an army and go to attack Macbeth, who has become a murderous tyrant. Macduff. He has no children. All my pretty ones, did you say? Oh, Hellkite, all? What, all my pretty chickens and their dam at one fell swoop? That's Macduff what he says when he hears that his children and his wife have been murdered by somebody sent by Macbeth. Well, back at Dunsinane Castle, Lady Macbeth's behaviour has been increasingly strange. She is sleepwalking and trying to wash blood from her hands. Lady Macbeth. Out, damned spot, out, I say. 1, 2, why then, 'tis time to do it. Hell is murky. Fie, my lord, fie, a soldier and afeard. What need we fear who knows it, when none can call our power to account? Yet who would have thought the old man to have so much blood in him? Okay, now Macbeth is waiting for the English, led by Macduff, to invade, convinced that he will survive due to the witches' prophecies that, remember, say that he can't be harmed by a man born of woman, and that the woods have to come to life and attack the castle, which obviously he thinks can't happen. Lady Macbeth kills herself, and this causes Macbeth to become pessimistic and depressed. And he says this, amongst other things. Out, out, brief candle, life's but a walking shadow, a poor player that struts and frets his hour upon the stage and then is heard no more. It is a tale told by an idiot, full of sound and fury, signifying nothing. However, he's still determined to fight, Macbeth that is, and he's convinced that he will survive. Meanwhile, Malcolm hatches a plan to protect his soldiers as they move nearer the castle. Each soldier will cut down a tree branch and use it for protection. Can you see what's happening there? Malcolm, let every soldier hew him down a bough and bear it before him. Thereby shall we shadow the numbers of our host and make discovery err in report of us. So from where Macbeth's looking, this army, because they've cut down lots of branches and they're holding them over their heads as a sort of disguise, it looks like the forest is moving. Macbeth becomes terrified as Birnam Wood is moving towards Dunsinane. However, he still goes out to fight. He meets Macduff, who is determined to have revenge for the death of his children. Macbeth tells Macduff he cannot be killed by anyone born of a woman. However, Macduff reveals he was taken out of his mother's womb after she had died, so he was not born of a living woman. Today we'd call that a caesarean section, but they were incredibly rare back then. People didn't normally survive them. Macbeth, I bear a charmed life which must not yield to one born of a woman. Despair thy charm, and let the angel whom thou still hast served tell thee, Macduff was from his mother's womb untimely ripped. So Macduff and Macbeth get in a fight, and Macbeth is beheaded. Malcolm is made King of Scotland. Macduff, talking to Malcolm, Hail, King, for so thou art. Behold, where stands the usurper's cursed head. The time is free. I see thee compassed with thy kingdom's pearl, that speak my salutation in their minds, whose voices I desire aloud with mine. Hail, King of Scotland. All hail, King of Scotland. And that's the end. Now I want you to complete this table, which will be attached to class charts. You can see what you need to do there. Fill it in and then upload it to class charts, and I'll look forward to seeing those. Thank you very much, Year 8, and I will speak to you again soon.